Still tinkering around in the area of Chapter 7 from your textbook. Here we're going to solve an equation which has a rational function in it. Now, at this point, you should be looking at this and just realizing right away, we're going to have to factor that. If you see an opportunity to factor something, just do it. Suck it up, factor the thing, and don't worry about what comes next. You can just kind of pause and enjoy the factoring while you're working on it. So what I'm going to do here is factor out that leading x, because there's an x in every term of the numerator. So I'll leave behind an x squared, a minus 4x, and a plus 4. And all of that's divided by x plus 1, and all of that mess is still equal to 0. Don't drop the equal 0 off. It's part of this expression. That numerator can be factored even more. Let's see, x, two numbers to get plus 4, but that combine additively to make minus 4. How about minus 2 and minus 2? And then how about this? This is nifty. There we go. So I'm trying to solve an equation which has been simplified from its original messy form to this slightly less messy form. And we're going to solve this equation. Off to the side, I'm going to note the domain of this function is everything except x equals -1. X could be all real numbers but -1. That's just information, right? Now we're trying to solve this. It's kind of a mess. To simplify it a little bit, maybe the fact that we have a denominator can be fixed. We can get rid of the fractional form of this. This is one of those cases where who's in charge of this expression? We are. If we don't like that x plus 1 in the denominator and there's a 0 on the right-hand side, we can multiply both sides of this by x plus 1. So I'm going to do that with kind of bad notation. I'm multiplying x plus 1 on both sides of this equation. And so on the left-hand side, it will cancel. And on the right-hand side, 0 times x plus 1 will still be 0. And so after that multiplication, we'll get that. We're solving this equation. We're asking for values of x that we can plug in this left-hand side and get 0 back. There aren't very many. In fact, the zero product property tells us that x equals 0 and x equals 2 are the only two values for x that will allow us to get 0 when we plug one of those numbers into this left-hand side. If we plug in x equals 0, that's 0, so the whole thing is 0. If we plug in x equals 2, that is 0. The whole thing is 0. Nothing else. And so the solution values to this messy function are 0 and 2.